we have a quorum. We're going to go ahead and get the Personnel Committee up and going. Miss Cindy, if you would, please call roll.
Mr. Piazza?
Here.
Ms. Abrams? Here. Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
Ms. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Tola?
Here.
Okay. So tonight we have a few items that's going to be on the Personnel Committee. All of our people are here. So without further ado, it looks like we're going to have, we're going to go to 8.1. Consider approval of the proposed job description for District Montessori Curriculum and Training Specialist, Dr. Lisa Fussell.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. This position is part of the magnet grant that we received from MSAP. One of the parts of the proposal and in the budget is the training, and it actually is a resource teacher. So specialist in the copy you have in front of you should say resource teacher, and it's 11 months. This person's primary responsibility is overseeing the training for we're in a partnership with 2 other districts, EVR and Rapides. So they would actually oversee the training sessions, make sure that our teachers have their scheduled trainings, and it's over a 3-year period that all of our teachers would go through this training center and then ongoing training, and eventually we actually can offer trainings to other districts who have Montessori. So we can actually make money by doing the trainings once we've gotten all of our own personnel training. And it's paid for with the grant.
Okay. Hang on one second. I gotta get the mic.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to a motion before we do any discussion. We'll have a motion to approve item 1.
I'll make a motion.
We got a motion by Ms. Abrams
Second.
and a second by Ms. Richards. So with that being said, I'm going to open the floor for any questions or discussion.
So what happens when the grant runs out?
On the advertisements, we put at the bottom of them, pending grant renewal or grant funding on any of them that are grant funded.
Okay. So that was kind of my question to Dr. Purcell is, I mean, grant funding is wonderful. I'm glad we have it. I just want to make sure that when we advertise for this position, we don't want a position that if that grant runs out, the board's going to have to be voting with it for future board members. That was my only concern when I see grants at the top. It's great because it doesn't come out of our pocket right now. But I also don't want to bring on someone to our, our staff and then we not be able to guarantee their salary, especially with everything going on with the Department of Education and the State House with all the stuff going on. That's my biggest concern, is funding future down the line. I mean, we've had a lot of people this year for really good positions that we need. I think we need this too. It's just, I want to make sure that those fundings are there permanently long term and not just temporarily while we have the grant.
Yeah, yes, sir, and you're exactly right. That's one reason we waited. We wanted to make sure everything's settled, and we were able to determine that this is protected. It was already passed, and we know for at least 3 years that this is covered. But in every advertisement, since ESSER, we got into the practice of putting, if it was funded by grant or federal programs, we put that statement. So yes, sir. Thank you for asking that.
And then my last thing is, do you know how much we're current, and you probably don't. I'm sure we have to go through this training for our magnet school right now. This would save us money, I would assume, long term by having our own in-house person that can do training for us.
Yes, sir. Actually, again, it would actually make us money when we become a trainer of trainers, which is what we'll do. And the other thing is when we bring on new people, we don't have anywhere to send them close. So you're right. We always have to send them off somewhere for the training. So we would be, creme de la creme. We'd be offering the training by one of the top, because MCAT's the one that we're going to go through to become train the trainers. And it's a 3-year plan for all the teachers to go through with the understanding that in order to teach there, we'll be offering it year round. So we don't have to teach a year and then go get the training. So to be hired there, we would have it in the summer and then throughout the year to be ready to teach our students.
Okay. Any other questions or discussions?
So currently, right now, all of our teachers are going to one of those summer magnet or Montessori camps or workshops.
Yes, ma'am. And for Montessori, it's been really hard because they don't offer like they do for IB. So we're very blessed with Kay Saragusa. She really stays abreast of all the training. She does a lot of the training for us. But we have Roseland and Hammond Westside Montessori.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really getting people at both schools and then this center working with the other districts as well. It's just going to really expand our reach.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Any board members? Okay, like I said, we have a first and a second by Ms. Abrams and Ms. Richards. So we'll go ahead and ask the city, please hold the vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, so we move on to item number 2, consider approval of the proposed job description for magnet student registrar and recruiter. Again, Dr. Fusel.
So this is you could see the funding proposal at the top here. This is the only one that's not straight grant, it's partially grant funded. We have really, over the last 2 years with Ms. DeShay coming in and really focusing on our magnet programs, we've expanded besides our Star Academy, besides our Montessori grant. I mean, we have $30 million in magnet grants that she's overseeing. And then moving our registration to where we're open in the fall, then we do the second round. It's almost year-round advertising, opening, signing up, and then the logistics of when somebody's accepted into the program, making sure we have good communication with transportation and all of those intricacies. So, this is a proposal that we strongly feel like will continue to enhance our magnet programs and give our magnet coordinator more time back to focusing on the money, focus on expansion, focusing on the schools that we're still building some new programs in, and someone who is acting as the registrar to do the computer part of all the applications, the vetting, contacting families. A lot of times with our magnet applications, they'll do one and not the other. We'll get on the phone, make sure, get in front of that so they're not frustrated on the back end when they realize they didn't apply for something. So it's much needed, but it is split between different funding pots that fund our magnet programs.
We're going to go and ask, do we have a motion to accept item number 2, consider approval of the proposed job description for the magnet school registrar?
So moved.
We got a motion by Mr. Toller
Second.
and a second by Ms. Abrams. With that being said, do we have any questions, any comments, any board members?
Again, who's doing this job now?
No one. The coordinator, Ms. DeShay, does it now.
Shay's been doing all of it?
She does it. She has an assistant who helps partially, who also does all the ordering. So the assistant who currently tries to help her with this also orders all the supplies. So it's been, and we didn't have 2 kind of windows, so it's really been difficult. But yes, ma'am, no one but Ms. DeShay.
And I did have a question too. So I know we're kind of titling this as magnet student registrar. So this is the only position that they're ever going to have, right? So once you hire this position, if something happens to where, we need to move them around or anything like that, they're only for this position, right? They're only going to be dedicated to our magnets.
Right, and they're under a registrar. So yes, sir, it's specifically for our magnet students who are going into the program. But if you're asking, like, they're in that category. So the only thing they would do is register, and since this funding's paying for them, that's the only group that they will touch. So if we ever lost or didn't have any magnet money, then general fund would have to pay recruiter, registrar, and then they'd have to be doing it for all the students in the district. This is just for our magnet students.
So that was the question, because I know we're kind of doing a mixing pot and how it's getting paid.
Oh, yeah, no, so I see what you're saying. No, sir, this is all from just the magnet funds and touching just those who apply. and then letters of intent whenever they say they're coming back or transition into a different magnet school from another one. They help with all the logistics of that.
Any other questions or comments?
So if Mrs. Shea, would you go back and repeat what you had said earlier? If Mrs. Shea is doing this now and now she's gonna get a helper, then what is she actually gonna start doing?
No, this is what she's having to do. What she really does is run all of our magnet programs. She's the one who does PLCs monthly.
See, this person's gonna be the one to do all more like the paperwork while she operates it.
The registration.
Yes, and she's already expanded the programs and still trying to do this. This will make it more pleasant for our parents to have someone they can contact, because she has to do that while she's also doing the PLCs for our specialists, going into all of our programs, and doing all the budgets for those programs.
Okay.
Call for
Any
question.
Ms. Cole,
Call for question.
call for question.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving right along to the last item on the agenda, number 3. Consider approval of the proposed job description for attendance specialist. Dr. Fusel, the floor is yours.
So, Mr. Piazza and board, this comes from the state. So we do a super app every year where we ask for funding. There's competitive pieces to it, but the state analyzed our attendance data, and I know Ms. Tilly shares our challenge update every week. And if you've noticed, we started doing a column for chronic absenteeism because we have high chronic absenteeism at several of our schools. Well, the state at their meeting actually put up some of the districts that had an issue with absenteeism. We were one of them. So they offered us this with funding. So they're funding this position. It actually reports to Ms. Cece Lanier because it is federally funded with that program money. It goes through Title I funds. So she will show all the data, collect it. Our goal for this person is, and if you look at that list each week, the schools that are chronically, so we'll set above the district average, they will work with those schools. So we still have our regular attendance. We still have, student services who deals with truancy, all of that. This person will strictly deal with those that are schools that are way over the district and state average for chronic absenteeism, working with the families before school starts. What do you need? What's going on? Reaching out to them, helping the schools have incentives, follow up. That will be their work. And just like you asked before, it's only as long as the state gives the money for this.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Richards, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Ms. Abrams. Any discussion?
How long do we think the money is allocated for?
I live year by year with the state. I'm thinking 1 year. And you know what? Hopefully our numbers improve so much that we wouldn't even be eligible the next year. That would be the goal. But usually they kind of go year by year, very similar to when they give us funding for a literacy coach, or that funding may be there. And then if we see the data, just like you all said, well, then we have to figure out, are we keeping it and what funding? But in this case, we didn't even ask for it. They said, you qualify for it, we'll pay for it for 1 year, and then you turn in the data.
Any other questions? I will say, I read the reports that Ms. Silly says, we're doing a great job with boosting our attendance. I think this year we have seen a rise in our attendance that we haven't seen in quite a minute. So I want to thank the team that's already on that. I think this is something really well needed. Because we know if they're in the classroom, we got them.
Yep.
But if we can't get them there, we've lost them. So hey, I want to thank y'all for bringing this to us. With that being said, Ms. Cindy, please call for the vote.
Voting is open.
Thank you, Ms. Rogel, for the detailed explanation.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
With that being all that is brought for personnel, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and the main board will start at 6 o'clock. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Patel.